in Sweden where people actually, how should I explain it? They really needed a second opinion. They never got the second opinion until it was too late. That's part of the healthcare system there. We had, in my family, just 2-3 years ago, we had my mother passed away due to the fact that, well, she was 89 years old. Doctors, they know she had cancer. She had cancer a couple of years prior to that, and she was in pain for a year before they actually paid attention to her, and it was too late. So that healthcare is healthcare. I'm still for the private option where you have some choices.
Hey guys, welcome to the first official episode of SOGTV in my new domain, which is at the barn here in Henryetta. So if things look a little different, it's going to be a little different. But I'll try to not be so offensive this time. Maybe not. But I figured we'll introduce Shell. I have to spell it my name.
You got to think a couple of times about that one, don't you?
Yeah, it's. I've never seen a shell spelled with a K. Kjell. Here in Oklahoma, we go Kjell. Yep.
Not just in Oklahoma. I would say in most of the 50 states they go that way.
I would lie for a little bit. I was just saying the Swede because it was easier. I can remember that.
It's a lot easier.
Anyway, I wanted to have you on at the very first show because, honestly, this is your studio. So, you and Larry's.
Well, it's mine and Larry's, and it's part of the Henryettan, which is the local newspaper here. So it's going to be a lot of things taking place here, and you're gonna do your shows from here on out.
I'm excited about it. I would have never thought here in Henryetta because it's not a big town, but you've got a lot of reach already. I mean, over 81,000 people have access to the Henryetta. Well, everybody has access, but you have people that have actually already viewed it.
Yeah, we have. We are reaching. Our reach is probably somewhere around that 80,000 at this point, and hopefully that's going to grow to 100. And obviously we would like to see a lot of them as followers on both Facebook and YouTube, since we are launching the TV channel also as well.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
On YouTube. So it's kind of a blog channel or podcast type thing, but it will be call it TV programming if you want. We're starting with cooking shows. It's going to be a mixture of a lot of different things, and hopefully we can find something that is interesting for every part of the audience. Somebody likes cooking and somebody likes do-it-yourself shows. So we'll see.
This isn't just like when most people think of a local newspaper, they think like basically a newsletter. But this is, to me, it's bigger than even like the Tulsa World or anything on the paper side of Tulsa World because, I mean, you're just reading something. This is a lot of live things that are popping up, a lot of things that you're just, if you're wanting to find out something local, you've got local because you're not going to find local stuff in Tulsa, but you're also going to find Tulsa stuff here. You're going to find things on the East Coast, West Coast, things that people actually care about.
We're trying to be, when it comes to the paper, we're trying to be, what do you call it, multifaceted, and you guys got to excuse my English. I'm Swedish, so I have a language I call Swinglish. Okay,
Swinglish.
So I swing it sometimes.
Well, I spoke redneck most of my life, so I had to learn how to articulate my words.
Right. So we're not a traditional newspaper. We probably never will be.
Yeah.
But we are concerned about the local communities, and not just Henryetta. Henryetta is important to us. Obviously, we are located in Henryetta, but I think also that there's a lot of other communities around here that needs attention, exposure, to bring in companies, work, all kinds of things. So to expand, even a little town needs to expand sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, things. Yeah, I live over between. It's technically I live in Vernon, which isn't a town anymore. So, but in my address, my PO or my zip code, it's in Hannah, which most people have never even heard of Hannah. It doesn't even have a store anymore. It has a town hall and a church, and a water department and a post office that's open half the time. It's a really, really, really small place, but a lot goes on there. I mean, we just had a meeting not too long ago about turbines coming to the area, which is a big deal that would affect a lot of people. Right. We had the meeting in Hannah, and normally it would never even get out there. Nobody would ever hear about it. But because of the Henryettan.
Yeah, and there was not just because of us, but there was the place was jam-packed. It was a little local church down there in. Well, you were there,
yep,
right?
I was there,
and that place was packed. People were even standing in the back and around. So, we need to awaken the people of what's going on, and everything in energy that is, supposedly good, they say, might not be so good. So
and if you watch mainstream media, which people are going away from that, the new media is online. You were talking about like YouTube television type show and stuff like that. Well, that's the new. I watch that. I watch YouTube more than I watch anything. And it's not just silly cat stuff. I'm actually watching the news and stuff because you will find out quicker, and it's not bought and paid for. You have people that are actually concerned about what they're talking about.
Right.
And they actually have something to say about it that's more than just what that BlackRock or somebody is telling them that they need to say. Right. And it's important. And most people don't understand. I was watching Elon Musk yesterday, and he was talking about this, how people think that we're overcrowded. And I'm like, me living in a rural area knows that I can right now go walk into the woods and walk for days and never come in contact with a single road. I mean, we're mostly rural,
right?
And a lot of them don't get to say anything. They don't have a voice,
right?
And that's most of America.
Yeah, no, and I think that the last few years has kind of awakened the podcasts and the news coming from different sources than traditional news, and I think that's important.
I kind of want to change it just a little bit because I'm really curious, and I'm sure a lot of people are. We're in Henryetta, Oklahoma. Most people have never heard of it unless you've watched the Cowboys or something, and Troy Aikman or Shoulders is from here.
Yeah, Troy was from here.
Yeah. Right? But why would a man from Sweden travel all the way here to do this?
Well, that's a long story. Here we go. Here comes the train. That's the only disadvantage of having a studio. Right outside the train track. Luckily, it doesn't happen so often, but it goes by. Yeah, that's a long story. In the 80s, I actually had local newspapers in Sweden. We were doing more like advertising. We had, I think we printed about 100,000 copies a week. We gave it out every single household, and we were free. We didn't charge for the paper, and about 100,000 people got it every single week in their mailbox. So
that's a lot.
So it was an undertaking. We had that for years. Sold it in 1980, 87, 88, 89, somewhere around there, and decided to move to the United States, which we did. And I've been here permanently since 1992. I bought a condo in Florida in 87. Don't like the cold winters. And now I'm back in the cold winters. And even though Oklahoma is nowhere close to Sweden, but it's still cold. Living in Florida for almost 30 years, and then I moved to Philippines in 2013, 14, and I've been there for 10 years. And then Larry called me one day and said, "Hey, what do you think about buying a newspaper?" And I said, "What? Newspaper? Where?" And he told me a little bit about it. I took a look at it, and I saw the chance that, yeah, we can do something with it if we do expand the geographical area a little bit.
Yeah,
we can do pretty good.
Yeah.
So long story short, that's how I ended up in Henryetta. I'm old enough to be retired, and I was called out of retirement.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah. Well, if you talk to my friends of the different political nature, they would say, why would somebody ever move from Sweden? Because isn't that the perfect country to live in? Like, you didn't have to pay for anything, according to my friends.
Well, your friends needs to be a little educated.
A lot of people need to be educated.
You pay for a lot of things there, but you might not, if you're talking about health care. Is that what you're talking about?
That's one of the many,
right.
A major thing.
Yeah, free health care. There is never anything such as something for free. It isn't. Health care in Sweden is financed basically 100% through tax. So you end up, the more you make, the more you end up having to pay into the healthcare system. So instead of having a private insurance, you pay taxes. So what is better? I personally think that private insurance and have a choice of doctors and other things it's a better thing than in Sweden. You don't have a whole lot of choice. You have a hospital you go to, you have a doctor you go to, and you're locked down there, right? So
I heard that there's no such thing as saying, well, I want to get a second opinion. I want to, I need to get this done. Well, it's an elective surgery, but
that happens sometimes in Sweden where people actually, how should I explain it? They really needed a second opinion. They never got the second opinion until it was too late. That's part of the healthcare system there. We had, in my family, just 2-3 years ago, we had my mother passed away due to the fact that, well, she was 89 years old. Doctors, they know she had cancer. She had cancer a couple of years prior to that, and she was in pain for a year before they actually paid attention to her, and it was too late. So that healthcare is healthcare. I'm still for the private option where you have some choices.
Well, the way, now it's just my sense of logic maybe, but if a government is controlled of your health care, everything is based on statistics and how much something costs, weighing the options of cost versus health. So if it's going to cost more to try to cure your mother, and it doesn't make sense because, well, she's 89. She's already past prime.
Oh, yeah. No. The older you get, the less chances you have of getting proper care. Unfortunately, in a system like that's a lot of times how it goes.
That's horrible. I'm with you. I'm for private health care. Now, do I think that we have some issues? Well, yeah, we do. I mean, you know, I have to buy scripts. I have to pay for stuff. You know, it's just, I'm getting an MRI is going to cost you $3,000. But they make a lot of money when they shouldn't be. But I still
that's part of the problem here too in the United States. I mean, it seems to me, I've lived in Philippines for, like I said, 10 years. And since we are on the subject of healthcare and medicines and care, you know, you pay dearly here in the United States. It's like sometimes medication here is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times more than it is just across the border, North Canada, South Mexico, and I don't understand that. But that'd be something for our politicians to take a look at, because it shouldn't have to be like that. I think the American people are paying dearly for health care, especially medication and other things. The pharmaceutical industry is actually jacking up the prices, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would almost say it's not really an opinion; it's a fact. We have a lot of people don't know this, which you probably remember in the 80s and 90s. Everybody talked about big oil. You know, how they had lobbyists, all these lobbyists paying for stuff. But did you know that the pharmaceutical company has, it's either 15 or 18 to 1 lobbyist compared to big oil? They had that many people trying to get you to go into pharmaceuticals and spin and making all these legislations. I mean, look at the last 4 years.
Yeah, this is a subject that, you know, is close to me, because I think humanity, on the humane side, humanity is important, and when health becomes commercialized for profit, a lot of times I think the humankind gets to suffer from it. So
yeah, I mean, if it's kind of like, to me, if people that talk about climate change, if they really want to do something, talk about pollution. You know, if people want to talk about healthcare, let's talk about, you know, why is medication? Why are we still allowing lobbyists to do this? We're not in the care of helping people get better. They're not in wellness care. They're not trying to cure you. They're trying to make it where you constantly have to. I mean, I finally got off medications, and then I ended up back on my diclofenac for arthritis, and I've ended back on this and this and this. Pretty soon, if I had as much medicine as they wanted me on, I'd be taking 25, 26 pills a day. But I got it cut down. I'm taking like 5 or 6 of them a day. Right. But you know, it's just every time. That's why I hate going to the doctor. Every time I go to the doctor, they want to give me pills. The only doctors I've found that aren't like that are, I have a good friend, Dr. Mark Sherwood. He's been on my show a couple of times, and he's going to come back again here in a month or two. But he's a functional medicine doctor. Right. And they don't cure you with pills. And they do a lot of good work and stuff, because that's the way it used to be. Yeah. Well, I bet you we can fly to Mars, but we can't cure cancer. Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's called money. Yeah. That's my opinion. I am sure that there is solution to these things out there. It's just we would have a financial collapse in the healthcare industry in the United States if cancer was announced, gone, over, done, right? A lot of people make money off of cancer. Even a lot of philanthropic organizations, nonprofit organizations that are for cancer. If you look into them, you have guys making 6 figures working for these companies. That's supposedly a nonprofit company. Yeah. You know, I don't get that. That my mind doesn't compute. I understand, like, people complain about, you know, football players making so much. I was like, well, yeah, that's capitalism. I was like, they bring in a lot of money, but that doesn't make any sense to me. No, that's crazy. So, you know, I mean, it's the same thing with the what do you call it, global
change and
climate change.
Climate change.
It used to be
and the
global warming. They changed it a few years ago.
Yeah, it's climate change now.
Every time they get proved wrong, they just move that goalpost somewhere else. And we're like, well, we're like, yeah, but the climate it's not global warming now. It's going less. Climate change, that fits every narrative.
Yeah. Well, I'm old enough to know that they have been talking about North Pole ice will be gone such and such time. We will have in the 70s they were talking we would have such a bad cold actually. By 30 years from then, and where did I go? Nothing. God controls the nature.
Yeah, and that's why I love the idea of like the Henryettan, because that is where the news is going. Because you probably remember back then that people were literally selling their houses because they were afraid that they were going to be underwater, and so they wanted to sell it before it happened, because Al Gore said in 10 years, the coast isn't going to be there anymore. It's going to be underwater.
Florida had a lot of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, with climate change and all that, it just operates on fear.
Yeah.
Gives people fear. It's just that's how they control people in my view today.
See, that's why I've always, when it comes to the weather, I have two forms of weather. I have my wife; she tells me what the weather is going to be, and then I have a weather rock. If it's wet, it's raining.
Right.
If it's white, it's snowing. If it's blowing around, it's windy. If it's gone, tornado.
Right.
Simple. But I keep things simple. I've never feared about the weather. I've never feared about climate change, because honestly, it doesn't make any sense to say that. I mean, plants need carbon dioxide.
Right.
That's a necessity.
Yeah.
We have enough trees in the world right now that it will eat twice, 2 or 3 times as much carbon dioxide that's actually on the earth right now.
Yeah.
So how are we affecting it by, us giving up everything? I mean, us spending money on electric vehicles that uses coal to create the electricity. It's just.
Yeah. Look at the workers that actually works the mines in Africa to get the ingredients to the battery.
A lot of them.
Slavery.
Is
slave workers.
There's this one.
Kids.
I forgot the name of the guy that went down there, but I believe I was watching on a Joe Rogan podcast actually. He said he was there, and according to paperwork, I believe it was the cobalt mine.
Right.
He said, according to paperwork, not a single human being was allowed to be there because it was so poisonous.
Right.
He said you could barely see the ground. There were so many slaves, and he's not talking about strapping men working or anything.
No,
children.
Yeah. No,
And
it's crazy.
they were covered in green soot. He took pictures of it,
Right.
and it was horrible. And yet it's not on the media. In
Right.
order to see something like that, you have to watch a podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, you have to look at media like the Henryetta.
Yeah, media. Henryettan, or there is guys out there that it's pinpointing this now. The problem is that people are still stuck to the traditional media, and they still have faith in them, and I don't.
Yeah.
Of
course, not that I'm a believer in polls, because, well, we just saw the election. The polls, I still see them. They're still saying that Kamala was going to win, according to the polls.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't believe in polls. But the polls do say that that there's still a good 60%, I think, of people that have trust in the media. And it's just, it just amazing how many times they've been wrong, or they'll say something that is, all they're trying to do is to get shock value, to get you to believe something that they want you to believe, instead of being honest. That's what, as a former police officer, I was 11 years as a cop. People will ask me about things that will happen in the news dealing with the cops, a police shooting or something. They'll ask my opinion. And I say, I don't have one. And people are like, but you were a cop. You should have an opinion. I'm like, no, that's why I know not to have one, because the media is typically the last people to get it. Mainstream media, the network media,
Right.
it's because they have to go through so much chain of custody and make sure it's okay that they can say something.
Yeah.
But on a podcast, you're talking to the actual person. Like, I'm talking to somebody that's actually from Sweden. I'm talking to, it's you get direct information.
Yeah, you get information from the source, basically.
Yeah.
You know.
And that makes a difference. And I think a lot of people are hungry for that.
Yeah.
They
absolutely.
They're tired of being told something and fed a lie and then having to work it out. Well, is that true? Is that not true? Have to look at all these sources, which it's good to research. Most people honestly don't research, but when you hear something from a scientist
Right.
or a doctor, or somebody that's actually worked in mines, I'm going to start. It's called Ask the Experts. I'm going to actually talk to people from specific fields
Right.
that you can get real information from.
Right.
And people need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think I'm excited about the Henryettan, honestly.
Yeah.
And not just because I'm here.
I like it here. It's a nice little town. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a very big contrast from where I've been living in the last 10, 12 years. It's, with literally hundreds of thousands of people in the same town. Traffic, crazy every day. I mean, it doesn't matter what time of the day. It's rush hour traffic, 24 hours a day almost. Manila, which I was close to, there's like 15, 16, 17 million people living in that city. It's just like unbelievable.
It's nuts. That's a lot of people.
Drive, I believe it's, from where I was, I believe it's about 85 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
So what is that, about 55 miles?
I don't know. I'm American. We don't do kilometers.
2.5, 3 hours to get into downtown is not unusual.
Wow. See, that's just...
to drive 55 miles.
And I drove...
Like here to Tulsa, right? It's an hour or less.
Yeah.
3 hours.
If you're doing the speed
hours.
limit, it's
Easy.
about an hour or less.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. Well, so what? This is, I won't take up too much of your time, but what exactly are your plans that because all people know right now is just you've got a news media site, but what exactly is it going to entail? Because I know a little bit about it, and it's honestly, I know people that have media programs,
right,
and they're not nearly as all-inclusive as you are about some of the things that you're going to do.
No, well, we want to reach out to the community, push a community agenda, try to find out the good things. How do we work with the community, market the community? Henryetta could probably need a lot of advertising, positive advertising about what's going on here. I don't know if there's ever been a major industry moving in here over the last 10, 15 years. There is a couple of big ones, the glass industry here and a few others, but I think over the next 3 to 5 years, I think we will see some changes.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So
I'm excited about it. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I wanted you to be the first guest because you're the one who created the studio.
right.
So, so it gives me the opportunity to reach further because I really believe in it. And I don't jump into something I don't believe in.
Right.
I'm got a reputation for being hard-headed.
I'm kind of the same, You got to believe in what you're doing. If you don't, you might as well not do it.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for a lot of people.
Yeah. And people need good things. People that have the best intentions. Because I remember one thing that it's hard not to know that I'm a conservative, but I'm a constitutional conservative. I refuse to call myself a Republican or anything. But when talking to you and Larry, y'all were very adamant about being neutral and just trying to get real information, whether it helps or hurts either party, whether you just want the truth.
Yeah, well, the truth is probably the most important thing in life. You know, if you don't get the truth, where are we going then?
Everything off that. We called it in law enforcement when a cop did something that wasn't ethical or it was against the constitutional rights. We called it the fruit from the poisonous tree. Anything after that is bad.
And I'm not in any way against politicians, but politicians has the title, has a meaning.
Yeah.
And to me, the meaning of that title is I tell you whatever you want to hear until I get elected, and then I do whatever I want once I'm elected. And again, that doesn't go for everybody, but I think that has been, especially when you have people that end up staying in politics for, I'm talking lifetime.
Lifers.
I looked at some numbers just in the Congress, and I was laughing about it. When you have, I think when I looked, it was 6 people. This is a few years ago, but not very many years ago, but a few years ago. You had 6 people had a combined 240 years in Congress. Do you know what that is? 40 years per person.
Yeah. That doesn't shock me at all. I mean, look at Biden. He was here when America was still segregated. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. And this is nothing against him,
That's because we allow it.
I think Biden was, in my view, he was used.
Yeah.
He was used for a purpose by the Democrats. And when his cognitive decline got too much, they had no more room for him.
Yeah.
They had no mercy. They just broke him out. So you could say whatever you want about politicians, but being a politician is probably not easy either.
Yeah. No, I
don't think I ever wanted to go there.
I think the only president that I haven't seen come out with darker gray and more wrinkles is probably Trump. Everybody else.
I don't know if I agree with you there, because if you look at him today and compare it to who he was in 2016. Oh
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
He has aged.
He's probably really good at covering it up.
He's good in covering up. His hair. He's good in covering his hair, right?
Yeah.
we can joke about that.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
That's another thing with the politics when it comes to Trump. People has, in my view, since we're on the subject, my view, people have a hard time to separate policy from the person.
Yeah.
And if you look at the policies he had in 2017, 18, 19, and 20, until he left office, policies were fairly good.
Yeah.
Could he have toned down his voice a little bit sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I'm saying to anybody in official positions. You've got to have the ability to see the difference between a policy and the person.
Yeah, I tell people
there is assholes.
Yeah,
that actually has good policies. So
I actually tell people, I was like, my vet. I had a service dog for 15 and a half years, and he always went to the same veterinarian. Yeah. And I tell people, I'm like, he's a complete asshole. Not with the dog, but the person, the veterinarian. Right. He was a complete asshole. I mean, he drove me nuts. He was bossy. He was accusatory. But you know what? I didn't choose anybody else because he could protect my dog when I needed him to. He took care of my dog. He did exactly what I paid him for. I didn't pay him to be a nice guy. I don't pay politicians to be nice people.
Right.
So it doesn't bother me if some of my favorite politicians, I use the word favorite politicians loosely, but the ones that I think have the best hearts and are
Right.
actually trying, they're not known for being the nicest people.
No, they're
My
not.
friends are not. I didn't even like them. I have just a handful of best friends, and I literally did not like them when we first met because they were kind of assholes. But I learned that I could trust them, that they would be honest to me all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And I ask, my daughter, I'm like, do my enemies trust me? And she'll say yes.
Yeah.
At first she'd say, well, no, your enemies wouldn't. But no, I was
Yeah.
like, if you're an honest person, your enemies will trust you.
Right. And it's kind of let your word be part of your action.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and cut it loose. I will have you on the show again just because I
Right.
think we can have some pretty deep conversations. But I just wanted an overall general, about the
sure.
about the newspaper.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. We'll do it again.
Most definitely. Well, until next time.